Assalamu alaikum, Sasso here, and welcome to Lighting Your Spark. So, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to recap the Spark framework. We're going to go over our objective for this stage, and then I'm going to give some tips to complete the worksheets, and then some final thoughts because we're actually coming to the end of this second stage, the second phase of Know Your Potential, where you get to know yourself. So, let's recap the Spark framework. So this was what inspired it all. Be aware of your own worth. Use all of your power to achieve it. Create an ocean from a dewdrop. Do not beg for light from the moon. Obtain it from the spark within you. Iqbal. So do you remember, obviously we talked about his work. We talked about Hudi, the self, what it means to transcend the self. We talked about his analogy of the Shaheen, the eagle. That's what the attributes that we need to adopt. And then he also talked about the Insani Kamil, the perfect self-actualized man. So he, very similar to Malcolm X, he recognizes that the human's ultimate aim is to become the best version of themselves. That's what this process is hopefully taking you through. Now, his quote that I've just quoted, be aware of your own worth. Use all of your power to achieve it. So that was the inspiration for the second framework. Because the problem here is that too many of us are sadly not aware of our own worth. And so we just go with what we've been taught, what we've been told, instead of truly getting to know our real selves. Hopefully now you can see with the work that we've been doing up to now, you don't need to beg for the light from the moon or from anyone. You can obtain it from the spark within you. You all got this uniqueness about you that you can use to change the world, or change yourself, or change your community, or make any change that you want. So that's what this whole process is all about. So let's recap. So the S stands for spirit. This is essentially what we spiritually inclined towards. This is, Allah's given us the tools for our own salvation. He's made us inclined towards, something that will, save our souls essentially. So what is that? Personality types. Using the famous Myers-Briggs framework. There's an interesting thing here. Let me actually show you mine really quickly. So let me just go into that. 16. So where are they? Okay, I am the advocate, INFJ. This is quite interesting. It's a realist, but they leave the market with idealistic and principled. They want to stand up, make a difference, right? It doesn't come from one of your status of seeking fulfillment, helping others and being a force for good in the world. Lofty goals and ambitious, uh, this personality integrity. They're really satisfied until they know what they've done what they know to be right. They were seeking purpose. This is quite interesting, isn't it? This actually is just really aligned with who I am. Because it wasn't that I read this and I thought, okay, I need to find my purpose, or I need to, do something about purpose. No, it just came from within. Um, so all this is like really really interesting, connecting with others. Everything's a personal mission. Your life has a unique purpose, etc. So it's yeah, it's very interesting. Hopefully you find some very interesting insights when you read your own. So, abilities. So what are you naturally good at without it being an effort? So sometimes we have to actually think long and hard about this because we minimize things, or we belittle things. We take it for granted. But what would do you have that people would kill for? And sometimes it could be, oh, you know what, I cook steak better than anyone else that I know. It could be something as silly as that. But we need to. That's why, as part of this activity, this brainstorming, I want you to write down everything that you are good at, you can do quite well, and that you're kind of proud of. Relish your interests and your passions. What are you deeply, deeply, deeply passionate about? And again, this is another one where a lot of people feel, oh, I'm not really that passionate about anything. I just, I'm okay. But again, there are things that you do like without thinking, like you default to. Like even if it's, oh, watching a certain genre on Netflix. Yeah, okay, that's an area of interest to you. So hopefully the questions help to, extract some of this stuff within you. Knowledge. So what useful knowledge have you gained or picked up over the years? Could it serve you in your mission? So again, the only way we know that is to by, writing some of this stuff down. What actually have we obtained? What are the things that we know? What could we teach someone else? Life story. So, what significant events have happened over the course of your life that have shaped you, the way you think and the way you act? From the story of Musa alayhi salam, when he got given his mission, he got taught his life. He got his life story recounted back to him because everything at that point had been significant and was relevant. Intelligence. So we all have a natural intelligence type and learning style. And again, you've been given this gift for a reason. Temperaments. So this is your nature, what you're made up of, how you act, respond, and how you may answer many of the above. It's actually why probably you are the way you are, why you have certain interests, why you know you tend to incline towards certain things, etc. So as we said, S spirit, personality, abilities, relish, knowledge, life story, intelligence, temperance. So our objective, what we're trying to find, what's the point of all this? So obviously you've been doing a lot of work, right? It's not pointless, I promise you. You've been trying to get you to know yourself, and it might feel a bit like overkill. Oh, why am I answering these questions? Oh, okay, so when are we going to get to the juicy stuff? Maybe, maybe it is overkill. But the way I see it is that you're whatever age you are now, and it's very unlikely that you've done this kind of work to understand yourself in the past. But don't we owe it to ourselves? This is the fundamentals. How can we even aim to be the best version of ourselves if we don't know what we're working with? We don't know what attributes we've got. Before you do any kind of project, or you think, okay, what resources do I have available to me? Okay, what's my budget? What's this? What's that? It's the same with that. Okay, you're now undertaking the project of yourself, your life mission, your purpose, your where you're heading towards. How are you gonna get into Jannah? All of these things. So you need to know what you're working with, what tools you have, and what gifts you have, and so you can be the most resourceful, most efficient. The idea behind getting all this data to find the common threads and patterns that keep cropping up. There will be something that, as you've begun through the worksheets, that oh my god, that's a theme. It keeps coming up. It's either a burning desire that's still unfulfilled, it's a gnawing regret, or even something that you didn't realize was buried deep, deep within. That okay, wait, it come. And again, this is why I've stressed upon this point that don't overthink it. Don't overthink anything. Just if it comes to you, just write it down. If it comes to you, write it down. If it's coming to you for a reason. We don't want perfection here. It's an 80-20 thing. All we want to do is to start synthesizing and collating some of the most common and more fascinating findings into one place, even if it's not 100% crystal clear. We are looking for something that we call the divine spark. This is the thing that that you're all about, that you can do best. The thing that encapsulates what you do or who you are in a nutshell. What have you been encoded for? I'm using that word language deliberately because when we encode something, that's like there's this high security, nobody can encrypt it. It's like you've been encoded into our DNA. Allah has encoded. This is your mission. I'm giving you these skills and resources to actually do it. All of these things. So that's what we're looking for here. Is there something that's speaking out to us that we're this divine spark. So for me, the thing that kept cropping up for me. I mean, those like a lot of things that I kept noticing. Oh, I didn't realize I was actually quite good at product development, quite good at branding, quite good at creative type of activity. Even though like I was doing law and all these kind of things that weren't necessarily that creative, it makes sense now why it was quite boring. Same with even procurement and commercials. And again, I was okay and I was good at it, but I wasn't. In terms of did I enjoy it? Did I love it? No, I didn't. But again, when I was doing a lot of these kind of things for myself, the writing thing kept coming up. Author, journalist, and it's also a natural ability for me. I find it quite easy. It's not something that I struggle with, or I'm writing for weeks and weeks to come up with one essay or something. Um, it aligns with my passion, so yeah, it's something I'm interested in. It's actually a huge goal for me. To have a bestseller. And my personality type you've seen now, IFJ, it's purpose driven. I help people. My intelligence type as well is quite linked to it. Language and linguistics was always my thing, and my temperament is kind of sanguine, phlegmatic. So again, very people orientated and driven and all of these things. So I've got plenty of data now that I can use to figure out, okay, so how am I going to use all this stuff for what my mission is? Because now there's going to be some more digging and soul searching to try and now harmonize some of this stuff or or navigated towards a certain cause, a certain mission that you've been created for. So tips for completing the worksheets. So obviously, there's quite a lot of work to do just to get all the stuff out for each section. So think about the internet. So this is the wisdom that lies within us. So if you want to discover your purpose, you need to withdraw from the world and unplug. The reason I say that is because you know most of us, we're always consuming something. We're always on our phones. We're watching TV. We're always you know we're basically the stimulus all around us, right? And so basically our brains are mostly going to be thinking and processing just the stuff that's around us. So when I think we need to go deeper within ourselves, you almost need a 10 to 20 minute um, where you're almost ignoring everything that comes, and then it's like when you're doing push-ups. Muhammad Ali said that I only can't start to count the push-ups after they start hurting, because that's when it counts. And so with this, when I'm saying unplugging, and this is where you might get to spend just 10 minutes, maybe meditation, or go somewhere. Just don't take your phone. Go into nature. Take your notebook, and if you do it like that, because again, one of the I remember I think I told the story when I was telling my own background. Um, when I went to that Portugal holiday, I was walking and walking, and I was struggling with this stuff. I was like, what am I supposed to do? What am I trying to do? It's only when I actually walked into nature and I spent 2 to 3 hours in front of a waterfall that I came, and I was just looking at thinking and thinking and thinking, and then something unlocked within me. So it was like, and everything was cut off. I wasn't thinking about the world. I was thinking anything. I was just thinking about myself and what I'm trying to do. And when I came back, it all just poured out of me. So I'm not suggesting that you go to a waterfall or anything. I don't know if there's anyone near you, but I'm just saying that's what worked for me. Don't take advice and don't conform. Don't, only you can do this. This has to come from you, right? Obviously, I'm here on the coaching call. I can advise and guide and help you where I can, but it needs to come from within. So listen to your gut instinct. Figure this out for yourself. If you do ask others, what they'll tell you is just based on their own story, their own experience. Um, but it's not necessarily the right thing that's for you. And so the whole point is that you got to where you got to by listening to the world and listening to everyone else. Now listen to yourself and what what you're supposed to do. So again, you can't don't do it top line. I know I keep saying 80/20, and I mean that, but that doesn't mean okay. Let me just scan through it and do it. Like take it time, do it justice, because that way you can go deep. So again, as I said, block out a few first few hours. The first 10 to 20 minutes you will want to procrastinate because it's not always easy, and so you have to summon it to the surface because it's been hidden away for a long time. Some of this stuff. So don't overthink about the future. Oh, what does this all mean? What could it mean for the future? Like everything will reveal itself as you go through the program. So just do this stage in isolation for what it is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, final thoughts. So it's a mistake to think that time is not going. Time is going. Sorry, time is not going. Time is here until the world ends, but it's us that's going. You're going. So we don't waste time because time is infinite. You waste yourself. We are finite. So it's we that grow old and die. Time doesn't. So we need to make better use of ourselves before we expire. One of the worst things to do with time is to compare ourselves to others. If a cow eats grass and gets fat, but if a dog eats grass, it will die. So never compare yourself with others. We need to run our own race. What works for one person, maybe something that actually kills you. So we need to focus on the gifts and talents Allah gave us. Don't be envious of the blessings that He gave others. The thing I've been trying to drum into you these last, this whole phase is that you are unique, and the sooner we embrace that, the first of all, the happier we'll be, the more we understand the world, and we'll be able to see the world from a different lens. Because then it's okay, we understand ourselves on a deeper level, and then when you understand and you're free of the external influences, then that with Islam is again really powerful, because we know that Islam has what it takes to take people to the highest heights. Um, so again, it could be that you might even find, for example, you're quite similar to others as someone else, but you thrive in a different environment. But what might it be the case that your methodology is different? So, like a lion and a shark, for example, they're both professional hunters, but a lion cannot hunt in the ocean and a shark cannot hunt in the jungle. Uh, the fact that a lion can't hunt in the ocean doesn't make him useless, and the fact that a shark can't hunt in the jungle doesn't make him useless. Both have their own territory where they can do well. And so if a rose smells better than tomatoes, it doesn't mean the rose can make a better stew or soup or whatever. So again, a long-winded way of just saying don't compare yourself to others. So we have our own strengths. We need to look for it and build on it. All the animals that exist that are in Noah's Ark. Right, a snail is one of those animals. So obviously we waited long enough, for Allah waited long enough for snails to enter the ark. So Allah's door is open until it is open, and you just have to take the steps towards reaching where you were destined to reach. So you just need to keep looking up, and no matter what you've been through, like some of the experiences that you've might have uncovered through this process so far might be painful. You might have uncovered things that, oh yeah, I don't want to be reminded of that and stuff. But again, it's all contributed to who you've become, and who you've become is for a reason, and so we need to tap into that reason. So this is a really really important thing here, because everyone has been created for a reason, and the spark is God given, right? So it doesn't matter if society doesn't deem it acceptable or cool. So you might realize, oh, you know what? Throughout all this, motherhood is the thing that I really want more than anything, and that's throughout history been considered one of the most purest purposes. Obviously, society today has moved people away from that, and and so if you say I want to be a mother, they oh, it's not ambitious, or it's not this, or it's not that, and so then puts people off because they don't want that identity and that label of, oh yeah, I'm just settling or I'm doing this. To quote from the Bible said, "What right have you, a human being, to cross-examine God? The pot has no right to say to the potter, 'Why did you make me this way?' The potter can do what he likes with the clay." So the point is, again, it's quite a profound point. We need to accept who we are and be immensely grateful to Allah for making us who we are. So this means we need to strive to understand our divine spark and accept it, and we need to understand our limitations. We can't do everything. Everyone has got a defined role to play. So we need to just figure out yours. You need to figure out yours, and this process doesn't happen overnight. We need to keep on growing and developing our spark, because your purpose is different from your identity. The idea then is to do ihsan, become the very, very best you can be, bar none. So we talk about strengths and our spark, what are our weaknesses. Obviously, nothing is perfect except Allah. But with Allah's help, we can achieve everything we need to achieve. We are deliberately made fallible, otherwise we would not be interdependent and need to work together with Allah. It's part of the test. So again, this is where all of this stuff is interlinked. Imagine you were perfect, you were infallible, you had all the skills. Then why do you don't need anyone? Then that unity in relationships purpose is not really that relevant to you, because, oh well, I don't really need to rely on it. I can be whoever I want to be, because I can be aggressive and I can be arrogant and I can be this and I can be that, because I don't really need anyone. But that's not true. Allah hasn't made anyone like that. So we need to understand that our weaknesses have been given to us for a reason as well. We need to be grateful for those weaknesses, because then that means that we need to then reach out to people and help and ask for help in certain areas, and all of this stuff is, like I said, all interconnected. So everyone's got something they're weak in. You're not alone, and some of this stuff is just down to nature, who your temperaments. So it doesn't mean, oh my God, I'm terrible at this, and why, and to lament it and feel like you got no confidence because of it, etc. No, it's just part of everyone. Allah's made everyone. Everyone's got different weaknesses, so it's about you understanding them first, and if you understand them, you can actually then do something about it. Because what you're thinking about often is logic, right? But if we just think from a logical perspective, how did 313 believers defeat thousands of unbelievers that have other? But logically, they were weak too. But Allah gives you what you need when you need it. He provides barakah, He provides relief, He provides rizq, He provides everything. You just need to continue to do you. And this is another vital one. Do not waste your spark. Because there's another famous parable called the parable of the talents. So in the story, there was one servant who failed to use the one talent he had, and so he what happened to him was that the talent was taken from him and given it to the one who had 10 talents because he would use it. So if you fail to use what you've been given, you end up losing it, or at least in the very least you'll fail in one of the core purposes, which is to do justice. Thinking and reflecting is like a muscle. So like running, you need to practice and train. If you're a physician, for example, and you leave it for 2 years, you may find you have lost your edge. You're not quite as precise. Same with driving. I mean, my wife recently, she passed about 10, 12 years ago, and then she, you know, came from London. She didn't need to drive, and then she moved here. Then she had kids. Again, now she started driving again, and she was so hard to practice. She had to actually get a driving instructor to give her lessons just to refresh her memory and stuff. So again, if you don't use your gift, it'll become dull, and you'll struggle with it. So that's just important. So obviously we're supposed to be engaged in reflection. If we do not think and reflect, our ability becomes dull and stagnant. So we need to keep on growing and becoming the best version of our spark that we can be. Because the better we become, the better we serve. And that's the true spirit of the golden age. All this talk about sparks, and we need to know our objective is to become this roaring fire. This roaring fire that has fulfilled its potential and done amazing things, fulfilled our purpose, etc. Right? Given light, given heat, given everything that we need to. But how do you go from a spark to a roaring fire? It doesn't happen that way. You can't try and jump steps. Okay, I've done this now. And let's say, imagine your spark was a sportsman or a runner. You don't then go and sign up for the Olympics tomorrow because you won't get anywhere. You need all the different steps, all the polishing, all the getting better and better and better and better, which takes it to all these different levels. So the spark, you do something small first, then something bigger, and then all this might be service, also might be all the different service you do eventually end up making you this huge roaring fire. So the action item is to complete worksheet 14, and to end, one of my favorite quotes from Confucius is, "When I was 15, I set my heart on learning. When I was 30, I knew where I stood. I knew myself. When I was 40, I had no more doubts. When I was 50, I knew the mandate of heaven, i.e. life's purpose. When I was 60, my ear was obedient, i.e. my moral sense was developed. When I was 70, I could fulfill the desires of my heart without going astray." The idea of working on the self, the idea of self-mastery, has been so removed from the spiritual part of the human being. Where we see this type of mastery in sports, there's incredible discipline in sports. Our great athletes have phenomenal discipline, and musicians also, because you know how much work it takes to actually achieve that type of mastery. But the idea of mastering the soul has really been removed from our civilization. And that, to me, is the greatest tragedy. So that's it for this one. That's it for this phase as well. And next, we're going to be going through what it looks like to how you're going to find your mission.